Success means to me is doing what you love and finding a way to support yourself and make a living off of on what your passion. That's success for me in the grand scheme of things. Grew up public assistance, welfare, Section 8, public housing, and for me to be able to go to school and get a college degree and now have my own film business, that's success, right? Breaking barriers and breaking families' curses and pushing your family to new heights that as a kid that you might thought you couldn't do, but you use something like basketball, which is a tangible vehicle, to lead you to other opportunities.
Exactly.
Today's feature is one I want you to pay close attention to. Understanding his story is the definition of what I challenge so many with time and time again, who think that life as a basketball player starts with a dream and ends if you don't make the NBA. There's nothing wrong with making it to the league. In fact, I can't imagine a better job. But what can't be stressed enough, especially from a guy like myself that wanted so bad to make it there and never did, is that life goes on, and it will for 98% of us. It seems nugatory, that statement, until you're in a position where you're forced to understand what that really means. It's then you realize what success potentially can be and how much life you have to live after 22, 23 years old with no draft prospects. Tony Chennault, ladies and gentlemen, is a success in my eyes. As you'll see in this story, he's always been a success. It's not because of basketball though. It's truly because of the person he's always been. Mature beyond his age, understood the importance of hard work, strong enough to leave home for a better situation, even more strong to leave that better situation behind and return home when family needed him. And finally, understood at a young age that making a life worthwhile was going to take more and could be done without basketball. He's always had a great attitude, which garnered respect from Hall of Fame coaches to NBA lottery picks to the people in his community that saw him go from the best player in the city to transitioning to other avenues of life when his NBA dream wasn't realized. Let's get into his story and hear from his own mouth what stunted his growth.
Yeah, that's the one I saw the story. He used to be one of my campers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you might know him.
Yeah, so, great kid.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Facey Taylor for the request. And this is Tony Chennault, and this is my Stunted Growth story.
It's your boy JC, stuntedgrowth3.com. Let's get it, man. Stunt number 1, Deacon situation.
Let's talk about the first time you feel like you've had a growth stunt in your career. Now, I want to preface this by saying this. A lot of people don't really understand what a growth stunt is, and they always assume that it's a negative, but it's just a change in direction, and for a lot of basketball players, I would say maybe 95%, a high percent of basketball players, we all experience some kind of change, and being young, you don't always understand how to deal with that, and that's where that guidance we were talking about earlier may kick in if you don't or you do have it. So can you speak about the first time when your basketball career was actually challenged and you had to decide which way to go?
Yeah, I think probably after I broke my foot my first year of college, that was like the first time like I ever had a serious injury where I was forced to really be off the court for 3 months, and I really had to learn the game of basketball from a cerebral perspective. Really start thinking the game, and that made me such a better player. But at the time I was going through it, I was just like, man, I don't know how to respond. I've never been injured. I don't know how I could be of value to my teammates. I don't know how I could really get myself to get better because I can't work on my game, but I could ride a bike with a cast on. I'm like, how much that could really make me better. So I really had to learn how to really start watching film and really breaking down the game.
Now, this story may seem a little biased because I actually like this guy, and he has many admirable characteristics about himself. When I say his growth was stunted, I challenge you not to take that as a negative, because as you'll see in the end, these basketball stunts changed his life and actually turned out to be positives for every Philadelphia kid coming after him. Tony is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and grew up mostly without his father, who was pursuing his own hoop dreams overseas. His older brother Mike took over the father figure role for the family and was very close to Tony, his mother, and his brother Sean. Growing up in the city was exactly the story you're familiar with: violence, drugs, and everyone competing for the same dream. Chennault, by his senior year, was a star for Newman Goretti High School, where he averaged 19.3 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. He was ranked 36 on ESPN's recruiting for the class of 2010 point guards. Many people thought he'd choose Villanova or one of the schools closer to him, but he eventually decided he wanted to play for a high-level conference like the ACC and in the same mold of a Chris Paul and build a legacy similar to greats like Tim Duncan at Wake Forest. He also valued his education and wanted to continue that level of education he had in high school into college. A great selection for him, with Nova already having guards Corey Fisher, Corey Stokes, and Malik Waynes on the roster. Wake Forest had the space he needed with only CJ Harris, who remained, and JT Terrell, who eventually transferred to USC, competing for his position. Everything seemed great, but here's why I think that entire Wake Forest situation was just as much of a stunt for him. As a freshman in the season opener, he'd break his foot, which made him miss 17 games that year. An unnatural occurrence, but had he been someplace different, this arguably wouldn't have happened. Many people believe he should have sat out that season and gained a fresh year of eligibility and come back the next season, but Tony, being the strong mind that he is, decided to go forward with the year, wanting to get on the court by any means. I too agree that maybe it would have been better to sit out, get a fresh start, allow some things like a new roster built more around you, transfers like Terrell to leave, giving you more room, and a chance to keep your youth as far as in scouts' eyes, who love you the younger you are. He was out of shape coming off the surgery, wasn't as familiar with the system as other guys on the team, and was a name that carried a good amount of expectation. It was an uphill battle he was facing coming back, and I think it hurt him doing so. He played just 15 games that season at 17 minutes a game, averaged 4 points a game, 1.9 assists, and didn't shoot the ball well from the field. All numbers that could have been better had he taken his time and sat out that year. As a sophomore, he'd have a better season, starting every game, playing 30 minutes a game and averaged 9 points a game and 2.8 assists, but once again, didn't shoot very well from the field, especially from the three and free throw line. Maybe a red-shirted year could have helped in giving him time to work on those things. And then there's the reason he left Wake Forest and caused another hiccup in the growth he was finally building.
Yeah. So what was your chances of actually starting and having the ball in your hands with those guys?
I was supposed to start. That's the thing that was kind of like heartbreaking about the situation. Like, I was supposed to start. We had like 2 games at Madison Square Garden. My family were making arrangements to be at those games, and it was just like, nah, it's not your time. Something happened, but it's like life, man. Like, things happen in life, and we have to make the adjustments. So that's when in college I really had to learn how to make the adjustment to the things that happened to me and how to respond. Like, understanding that I have 100% control of my reaction to what happens to me.
Yeah. So you decided with that control to come back after 17 games.
Yeah.
How did
I wanted to come back because, like I'm saying, I'm stubborn at times, but that stubborn makes me who I am as a person. That I know I can still play. I know it's a benefit of me coming back only for 12 games, and I'm looking back at it. I wanted to change it because me coming back allowed me to have the good year I had my sophomore year, because I understood what I needed to really work on. Like, your coaches and teammates can tell you need to work on this, you need to work on that, but experience is the best teacher. Once I got out there, the pace of the game is so fast, so I need to get in conditioning. Yeah. You know what I mean? I really need to work on my mid-range jump shot because I'm not gonna be able to get to the basket every time. I had to see those things for myself. So that was, in my mind, was the benefit of me coming back, was to experience that high level of competition in the ACC.
Yeah. What was the ratio of people that were telling you to sit it out and to telling you to maybe you should come back and experience that?
Everybody told me to sit out.
Yeah. 100%. Huh? So it's just you, like.
It don't make sense, man. Because you know the crazy thing is, like, I never thought of basketball into a business until I really got to like my senior year of college. I just thought it was just basketball.
Yeah.
I was just wanting to play, and the people around like, no, this is a business, man. Just sit it out.
So they were telling you that at the time, like.
Yeah, like they talking about you on TVs, being like one of the saving for these programs. It's gonna make sense, and like you come back as a freshman next year and you dominate. Blase. I just want to play, man. I don't care about the hoopla. I don't care about these expectations, and that's just the type of person I am.
So then you do come back and you play, you get your feet wet and everything. But then your second year, man,